Over the last 25 years, I've had the privilege of interviewing and highlighting some truly interesting people. Everyone who is anyone, both the famous and the infamous, from presidents and their first ladies to kings and queens, movie stars and pop stars, captains of industry, heads of state, sports personalities, innovative entrepreneurs, and some pretty fascinating everyday people. And today, I'm proud to introduce you to Antony Oldknow, an English educator, writer, publisher, and visual artist whose passion for literacy is what fuels his spirit. So I'll start off by saying hello, Tony, which is what people who know you and your work call you. Welcome.
Well, hello to you too. Nice to meet you.
You also, sir. So Tony, let's just start off by talking about literacy around the globe. Why does this issue hold such significance to you personally?
Give you a quick answer. When I first came to this country, I immediately was told you're going to teach a course for the State Department getting Peruvian farmers to speak English in 1 month.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and guess what? I said, yeah, I can do it. I know how to do it. It's an intensive course in a week, in a month, and I can do it. But I told my boss, your language lab isn't completely furnished to do the job properly. And he said, what's wrong with it? I said, the people concerned don't have the opportunity to actually hear what they've said themselves. And I said, I need that. And he said, oh, we can't do that. It costs a lot of money. I said, I don't care. I said, I'll fight the commies in Vietnam, North Korea, wherever it is. I said, but I want to teach these Peruvian farmers to speak English in 4 weeks, and then they'll do new agricultural methods in 8 weeks, and then go back to Peru and fight the commies. That was one of the ideas. And he argued and swore at me. He finally went round the corner, opened his door, and I heard him telephoning. I thought he's talking to the president of the university. He came back round me. He said, come in here and talk to this man. So I pick up the phone and I say, who is this, please? And he said, this is President Johnson. I said, what? And I told him what I wanted. He says, you're a spunky young devil, aren't you? I said, yes, I intend to do this. I can do the job. I know how. And you as a teacher know how to do it as well. And we
Way to go.
For minutes. And he said, let's see what we can do. And I thought, never hear from him again. 2 weeks later, equipment costing him $4,000 was in, and we did the job for 2 years. We were actually bringing to Peru ideas about American agriculture, and I taught I was all done very carefully, 24 hours a day, 7-day week, 4 month. And it was all done very carefully. I learned how to do this, and they spoke English at the end of the 4 weeks, and then they went off and did agriculture, and he came back the next year. And then President Nixon came in, who I'd also met one day as a poet, and he cut the whole business out, which was okay. I met President Nixon one day. I couldn't believe this. Here I was in the United States. The only person I ever met in Britain who was even vaguely important was the Queen's aunt, the Princess Royal, who gave me my first degree. And here I was talking on the phone to Lyndon Johnson and in person to Richard Nixon. Crazy.
I'm listening to you. Literacy is extremely important to you. So what ways do you think your work has contributed to a higher literacy rate?
Well, as far as teaching is concerned, which I really worked at in North Dakota State and at this area here, Eastern New Mexico University, I was lucky enough to get into programs which wished to actually do something new for composition, which was necessary. And I realized that it was increasingly going to be the case that the students who came to the places concerned couldn't read and write. They had been 12 years in high school, couldn't read and write. This is unfortunately true. But we were trying new methods. And one of them was, first of all, get students to write about things they really knew. And by doing so, go out into the community, interview people like old men, like elderly ladies, like anybody that was interesting, and get to talk to them. And then they'd have something to publish later. And we published their essays. I had started running a small press, and it was done by us working together.
Tony, I know that you were mainly raised by your step-grandmother who taught you how to read and write using the King James Bible, but now you're a published author. So talk a little bit about your own published work.
Well, my own published work came about largely because Grandma forced me. My father was in the war in Africa and Dunkirk. He was a Dunkirk veteran, and Italy. My mother was in a munitions factory. So this step-grandmother was going to teach me by German principles, and she taught me toilet training, for example, the hard way. She got me to be interested, and soon I wasn't just doing what she told me, I was learning. And I learned from everybody. Even right today, at nearly 81, I'm still learning, which is very important. And I find a lot of students were not. We had to. Now, we were forced. Grandma forced me. Get the thing wrong and slap me around the hand. I mean, that was. I'm not saying she was right, but I gained vast amounts from her.
So talk me through some of your published works.
Well, I started when I was started writing things that I really wanted to keep when I was about 8. And I wrote thinking eventually that I was pretty good. The schoolboys liked me, and I wanted to do that. I was lower class. I was a working class boy. My father only made £5.10 a week when I left for the university at 19, which wasn't very much. And what I did was I decided I liked the idea of being a poet. I like to write rhymes, and I started doing this. Now, a lot of the poetry was pretty bad, and it wasn't until I got to Leeds where I met one of my greatest influences, Professor Wilson Knight. Over the world, those people who know about Shakespeare, he's generally thought to be one of the best writers on Shakespeare of the last century. I was going down to Leeds one day to meet my fiance, who was at the library college, and he was coming up the road. It was a steep hill with this man. He looked kind of dismal, and it was raining slightly, and he stopped me. He said, "Mr. Oldknow, just 1 minute." And he turned to the guy and he said, "Tom, I want you to meet one of my best ever students." I thought, I didn't even know he knew that. I didn't think he knew that. So Tom held out his hand. I shook his hand, and he said, "Tom Eliot, TS Eliot." Yes. And I said, "Oh my God." I didn't know what to say to him, but it helped. You need encouragement. And it's not just encouragement from your friends, it's encouragement from people who really know. I mean, I've managed to get in good places. And somebody said to me, "You published all these poems, you must be rich." What I discovered is, of course, you better be humble, because even if you get published, the likelihood, if you're lucky, is you get a copy of the magazine you're in. Now, poetry paid a little money, not much, but it pays more now. And so I kept going I sometimes had bad times in which I couldn't do it, but I kept on doing it, and I decided that one of the ways was to work with students. So we decided to start in 1966, October 66. I got these new students at North Dakota State University in Fargo, and we decided we'd start a magazine. There was no literature on campus. There wasn't a neighboring university or college, Concordia College. They had a magazine, but there was nothing with us. So we started one.
I certainly do appreciate that, and I know your students have appreciated it over the years. So I will ask you, what do you think is the best way that we as a society can combat illiteracy, and what changes could such a movement bring about? Because I feel your passion. I'd like to hear other people's passion.
Well, I'm using Facebook a great deal right now to I'm doing one thing, and I've been encouraged to do more, showing my paintings on Facebook, 1-a-day poems on Facebook. I've been doing it for some time, and I'm getting people interested, including my former students, who one of them called me up and she said, "I was in your class in 1971. Do you remember a book you wrote, which was called Verses for the Beast That Came Up Out of the Abyss?" And I said, "Yes." And I thought to myself, and it was a pretty bad book. But anyway, it changed my life. Would you believe it? She said, "You said one day that for every problem, there is more than one possible solution." She said, "Nobody ever told me that before." She said, "It changed my life." And she said that some of your poems in that book, I still read them they really made me think. And I said, wow, I got through to somebody. You imagine that.
And this new normal has really allowed us to look at technology and other innovation to reconnect to people that way. Tony, as a final question, let me just ask this. What would you like the viewer of this video feature to walk away with?
To recognize that there is a need for us to look at more than just one-on-one, to actually look at us as a community that really upholds some of the principles that we say we believe in. One of them is have a creative respect for the entire universe, the entire cosmos, and the other, love one's neighbor as oneself. I've been trying all my life to try to do this. I deal with people all the time, from all kinds of groups, from all kinds of nations. I've been doing this for years, and we're just people. And the other one is, I don't believe we can afford to be cocky and think we're pretty big time. We're not. We're going to die. I was told again yesterday that, as a matter of fact, my aorta will maybe need repairing. I understand that that's the truth. My mother's sister and my younger sister died of burst aortas. I am working as a heart patient to see if we can fix this one. I'm told we can, but I'm not going to shut up. We have to have belief, and there's an awful lot of non-belief right now going on. I'm not talking about religious belief in ourselves, and we can only do that by being real friends. I want to be a friend, and I want to be a friend with other people, and do it seriously, not just as some game we play on the internet, although there's nothing wrong with that.
Your work in literature over the years has added so much to society, and if there's anything I'd like people to walk away from with this interview is to say that the joy of reading and the joy of learning is a continuing process. And I'm so grateful, sir, that you've spent some time today explaining why that's a passion for you and why you'd like to share it with other people. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. You're a very nice person, and I've enjoyed talking to you. And if there's anybody who's listening to this, hey, look me up on the internet. I've got lots of books to sell.